Nukes. Super scary. Shielded wasps. Also super. You know what? At some point, I might just have enough marksmen for all the shielded wasps. If I don't die. Come on, shield. Hold. Yes. Come on, marksman. Kill all the wasps. Oh, he's also got mothership. Good play, Eric. Times like these, I wish I have quick reload, but I don't. That's upsetting. Hey, Kipals, how's it going? Uncle Lazy Stoney combo. Yes, it is deadly. I feel like my Discord just permanently trash for some reason. Weird. Alright, I think this might be the end of the game, and then we can move to the main event tonight. We'll see. Just gonna wait for a few more minutes. We're gonna get everyone settled on Twitch, and also let me just check, make sure my YouTube is also working. It looks like there might be one more out. All right. Acid Blast could be deadly. Missile Strike could be deadly, but we're so late into the round. I mean, War Factory. Yeah. So this one is pretty crazy. I actually have a double efficient small unit production, which means my chaff are now free. Gotta love that, right? Let's just give a little bit more shield to the units here. I think we're good to go. Hey, good evening, Whooped. Welcome to the stream. We're just having a quick, fun 2v2 here with my buddy Eric and Uncle Lazy, and of course, Poet. It's a pretty wild one. We got launcher overload war factories into some really big Mustangs, but everything's on the line, so everything dies super fast. And it just really comes down to who's got more meat. It looks like I might have more meat with the super upgraded Mustangs. And Uncle Lazy side, he's just decided to Stormcaller abuse the opponent. Which I approve. It's a fun one because I took double efficient light manufacturing, so free chat. Probably for like the last 4 turns. We could go for another one while we kind of build up the viewers here, and then we can kind of jump into the actual beginner Q&A. So maybe let's just pull everybody in again, and let's do another quick one. Uncle. Oh yeah. Alright, let's get same team. Let's do another fun game. Just need to drag Uncle in, wherever he is. And also trying to get Discord working. French. Who's Carol? Oh. Who's Carol? Oh, Adrian Rome might be playing. Let's see if I can drag Adrian Rome in here. Carol Rogers. Carol Rogers. All right. By the way, super excited for the player numbers today. I mean, holy cow. 3,000 at this time of the day? Usually this is like 1,200. So this is a huge player count. Love it. Hey, Cabal, good night, buddy. Have a good one. Oh, Carl. That was a Carol. What? Alright. We can have another fun game here. MMR is a little scared on towards our team, I think. But Poe is pretty good. And Carl, good luck. And by the way, for our viewers here, so tonight's theme is beginner Q&A. And what we want to do is to get you all set up for Mechabellum. I truly believe the best Mechabellum experience happens around 1300 MMR and up. And that's when you understand all the basics, all your counters, you kind of know your positioning, right? And then that's when you start to figure things out that suits your own play style. From 0 MMR to about 1300, I mean, that's just learning. You graduate at around 1300. You think of it as like a high school graduation, and then you move your way up from there. From, I think, 1300 MMR and onward, every 100 MMR feels very different because there's somebody that would know something that you don't, whether it is the way that they position their units, whether it is the way that they sell their unit, like when to sell. That's super important at higher MMR. Most of the time, you know, when you have a new play, most people don't even know that you can sell unit. Let's put it that way. So yeah, so these are the things that to watch out for. And tonight we're not going to get you all the way to 2000 MMR. You ready? Right? But we are going to talk about some of the basics so that we know what we're doing. We're going to have a quick 2v2 to kind of get warmed up. And then we're just going to go straight into, I have a list of topics here. And if you have any questions, the chats are open. I do read the chats, so I will try to answer questions from time to time. Here is a quick list of topics that I want to cover tonight. And this video, of course, I will post it after. So if you do miss a few topics, don't worry. You will catch the video sometimes tomorrow, whenever YouTube and Twitch decides to finish their video rendering. So that's the plan. And for now, we're going to just sit back, enjoy a very fun, relaxing 2v2, and think about what sort of questions that you have as a new player into Mechabellum. And I'll try to commentate this game to the best of my abilities. So right now, the strategy that I'm going with, and I've been having a lot of practice and a lot of fun with, is this aggro spider strategy. So the tarantula is mostly a chaff clearing unit. So when we say chaff, we're talking about this cheap small unit cannon fodders. And tarantula is exceptionally good at shooting at these small units. They themselves are also very tanky, which means they can be used to push into the opponent's tower. Round 1, of course, this is 2v2, so one of my tarantulas went off and went into my opponent's board and started fighting on this side. But normally, 3 tarantulas should be able to contest 2 squads of sledgehammers, which are these tanks. Uncle Lazy with a question. How much diversity is needed in the build? That's a great question. So to understand diversity, you have to understand unit counters. So there are good counters, there are hard counters, and then there are kind of shitty ones. For example, earlier we just talked about chaff, and we said, hey, you know, the tarantula is a great chaff clear. And if I'm going to put a lot of tarantulas, then the opponents will have to answer. And one of the problems when you're running into tarantulas is HP pool. It has 15,000 HP versus, let's say, Arclight with only 4,000. So he would need something that hits fast and hard. And there are multiple units that can do that. You can get marksmen, you can get melters later on, you can get fortresses, right? There's a lot of options. But the general rule for what sort of diversity that you need in this build is you want to answer one problem, or ideally more than one problem, with one unit. And why is that? Why don't I want to have marksman and I want to have melting point and I want to have phoenixes and I want to have forts all to deal with this high HP tarantula? Well, when you have so many units, every time you want to make them more powerful by giving them tech upgrades, so these are the tech upgrades, you have to do it one per unit type. So when you have that many types of units to answer a single problem, it's going to be very cost inefficient. So in this case, right now, my tarantula serves two purposes. The first purpose is chaff clear. The second purpose, they're excellent tanks. So they themselves are also kind of a chaff. The only thing I need on my board is anti-air, which I do not have this turn, right? And my opponent very smartly picked it this turn. And then the other thing I do need is damage output. I don't have a lot of great single unit damage, which these Phoenix do. So I need to figure out a way to get that going. My opponent's board, what does he lack? Well, right now he does have a bit of a chaff clearing problem. As you can see, my units are kind of running towards him. However, with these Phoenixes, he was able to snipe my tarantulas quite early, which is really good, right? So if I were my opponent, I probably would stick with these Phoenixes. The Phoenixes serve a dual role. So the first role, of course, is snipes big units. The second role, being an air unit, you would need something to shoot up at the end of the round to completely win the round. And that's sometimes a uncertainty. So great question, Uncle Lazy. Hey, Sparty, welcome to the stream. All right. Missile Strike is just too good to not take, especially when you have Phoenixes on the board, right? Alright, do have a problem here. Do need range so I can start getting rid of things. And let's get some marks just to help with dealing with some of these units. These crawlers, they are okay in distracting my opponent. Right now I have a flank that's wide open, so if my opponent wants to put a Phoenix here, that is completely doable. Let me just see here. Maybe this is a little premature, but I want to be safe. So let's see. My buddy Eric there is just going with the fun build, Stormcaller spam with fans. He probably even go carry fans, but that's just a very fun build he's got going on. All right, my opponent's got the Mustangs. There is to deal with the chaff. So here's what I was talking about earlier. So he has to make a decision. Right now, there are multiple units for chaff clear. First, he's got the Arclights. Sledgehammers are also great for chaff clear. And then there's the Mustangs. So Mustangs, I understand. Sledgehammer and Arclight, I feel like if you were to keep something, I might want to keep just one instead of both. In this case, I might start sell out on the Arclights because the reason I said, okay, it's okay to keep the Mustangs because they also provide a crucial role of anti-air, which aside from these Phoenixes, they really don't have. So yeah, I probably will start selling out the Arclights and start tacking onto these Mustangs. All right. Question from Whooped. When should I tech a unit? Now that's a very loaded question. I'll give you the rule of thumb when teching a unit. First of all, it's always good to get units leveled. Right? No questions about that. The basics of teching is, well, actually, no. You're talking about teching, but I will talk about leveling after this question as well. When to tech a unit? In my board right now, I took range on the Tarantula last turn. So why did I do that? Well, first of all, I'm going to get the melting point. Why did I do range on the Tarantula? I noticed that my Tarantula was getting too exposed by running forward in front of these fans because without getting range, my Tarantula actually shoot at the same distance as these fans at 75 meters. And by getting way too close, I was actually getting locked onto by these Phoenixes, which I really didn't like. So range was a very good thing for me. Let's see here. Melting point in the middle. So that's one scenario, is to directly avoid some type of situation where being locked on a little bit too early. Another situation is when you see an opportunity to have a very strong momentum swing. So in this case, like on my opponent's board, depends on what unit my opponent would take. It might actually be a Rhino. So the Rhino is very strong. So I have to be a little mindful of that. I'm going to have a missile here just in case he does pick the Rhino. Let's say without looking at the Rhino, just looking at the board in general, right? What does he need? I think the Phoenix here could be very strong. You know what? Let's put the Melter on this side, since we already have 2 marksmen on the other side. Okay, took the melting point instead. Good choice. But the Phoenix right now is unranged. This one's got laser sight, which is going to be great. But for everything else, he might have a slight problem. Oof. Come on, melting point. Oh, not on target. That's too bad. Yeah. So Phoenix could get a range upgrade. Looking at the board here, I think right now my big problem is we end up with a melting point, 2 Phoenixes that I wasn't able to kill very effectively. So which means I probably need some type of late arriving chaff. And there's a couple ways to do it. So earlier we talked about unit diversity. When you're running aggro spider mine or aggro spiders, one of the technology that you can get from these spiders are actually the spider mine. Spider mine requires unit that can actually deal with multiple units at the same time. So Wraith would be the best bet. Sledgehammers, they're not bad, but they tend to overshoot on these spider mines. So that's going to be the unit for me. And with the extra money, I don't really need to worry about not killing his chaff or not killing his phoenixes in the end. But what I do need is just a lot of chaff units at the very last moment of the round. So this is what I'm going to play. Now for my opponent, he also has a very strong board, because what he can do onto my board is he can get stone crawlers just to get rid of my initial chaff, and that allows these big phoenixes to kind of get to my unit very quickly. So now it's just a race of who gets the chaff of your opponent faster. All right, going down the list here. Oh yeah, so earlier we talked about teching. So teching is very situational. Right now for me, rule of thumb is if a tech gets a unit out of trouble, or if a tech allows me to do a good chunk of damage to my opponent immediately in the next round. So these are my 2 rule of thumbs. But of course, there are other situations. So the reason I took Spider Mine this round is that it actually get my unit out of trouble, because it allows my my chaff to, my tarantulas to survive a little bit longer, because once it gets kind of locked on by this melting point, it becomes a bit of a problem. This melting point just continues to just wreak havoc on my board. Not a big fan of that. And also I noticed last round is that my chaff clear is not as good as I thought it was. My opponent actually added additional squad of Mustangs, which is really good, because they actually shoot quite far. So I can either get more tarantulas, or in this case, I can actually just go ahead and put on stone powders. All right. Another question would be when to level your units. Simple rule of thumb is if you have carry units. Let's see here. Improve Wraith, improves Okay, so carry units are like these guys that do the damage. And then you have chaff, which are cannon fodders, whose main purpose is just to die, right? If you have carry units, then you definitely wants to level them. Before you level them, you can click on them and you can see the statistics of these units. So the first number is your total damage dealt in the game. The second number is your damage dealt last round. And then the third is the number of units that you've killed in the game. When you're looking at a chaff clear unit like a tarantula, usually you want to look at the third number. And so far, I feel like the one on the left is not doing too good because this unit kept running off into my opponent, well, into my partner's enemy's board, and it happens to have like multiple marksmen. So that's not great. But for the rest of my units, I think they are okay. This round there's going to be fire on the board, so I just want to be very careful with that. We do have phoenixes in the air, but I think for now, I just needed a little bit more chaff. Last round, he did spend missiles, 2 missiles actually, on my units. So not a big fan of that. One more tarantula couldn't hurt. And since there's going to be fire on the ground, ooh, didn't have time. I was going to take additional range, so I can actually punch through things a little bit faster. But that's alright. Should still have enough chaff clear just to deal on all sides. I think the phoenixes are going to be an issue, but I'm confident in my line of fangs that's coming over to my opponent. And also the spider mines. Like right now they're just running in and they're doing a whole lot of damage. So here you can really see the difference in the sort of final round here when you have just a little bit more chaff, right? So these spider mines, they're going to distract the hell out of everybody. It's going to get tower. And now my board is stabilizing. Only if my big melting point will actually focus on the unit that is supposed to hit. Oh my god. And sometimes the game is weird like that. Like they have pathing, like this melting point is just walking towards the opponents, and then the last second decide, ooh, there's a bird over there. I'm gonna walk over. So. All right, I'll keep going down the list on questions. You guys asked a lot of great questions, and I love it. Sparty, do you prioritize techs early or maximize unit deployment? That's also an extremely nuanced question. Let's see here. Sabertooth, probably for the cell. But generally speaking, getting your, at least I would say the first 2, if not 3 rounds, you always want to maximize chaff. That's my personal preference. Because it just makes your board a lot more flexible. Because right now we do still have the unit drop mechanic in the game, which means sometimes in the later rounds, you'll know exactly what unit you're going to be getting out of these drops. So yeah, I think it's still going to be chaff priority for the first 3 rounds, and then depends on what sort of unit drop you're going to get in the first unit drop. You can then decide what you want to tech, because sometimes you might tech something early like the tarantula, and then the unit drop gives you 2 stormcallers, and then all of a sudden you're in a panic and you need to sell tarantula, and then you would have wasted that tech upgrade. But once you get through the first unit drop, it just depends on the board. And again, it reverts back to what I said earlier. You tech when you want to get units out of trouble, or you want to get units to do a significantly more damage. So right now, I just added shield on these fangs because I noticed that my opponent, when it comes to chaff clear, is just mostly, we got arc lights, we got tanks. I mean, now he's adding these fire badgers, which is a little bit scary. But for the most part, I feel like shield defense now with the double amount of shield should be able to do relatively well into my opponent. And of course, these late arriving fans, absolute MVPs, right? That forces the melting point to continue to shoot. and that allows my unit, especially now, an extra round of spider mines to run towards this tower. And with the tower down, I essentially take the game. So now I notice how useful the center pack of fans are. I'm gonna do even more of them late arriving to kind of form a line. And now my fans with shield, so they're like super jacked. Do you win here? We might actually win here. So that's kind of funny. Fury, how do I get to 2K again? Well, I don't know. I mean, here's an idea. You good? No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't. Is anybody in 2K right now? Nobody's in 2K. Everybody shrunk because of the reset on the season. So yeah, I'm not sure. All right. Okay. So let's jump into the main event for tonight. So these are the things I want to talk about. It's gear, at least for the most part, geared towards new players. I just want to make sure that you're equipped with the right knowledge. Some of the earlier stuff, it might be boring for players that's being around in early access, but I'll go through them very quickly. You usually can find information on it on YouTube. Lots of great information about those, but I'll just go through them very quickly. First of all, let me just let Eric know that I will be jumping into the stream. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is technology. If you're new to Mechabellum, this is the very first thing that you need to do. When you log into the screen, at the very top, you'll see unit modification. Click on it. This is where you can set different technologies for your units. When you click into the unit, there's going to be tech that are grayed out, and then there's going to be tech that's already in there. You can click on them to take them on and take them off. And you can also buy new text. So remember, there's a scroll bar on the side that you can go up and down, and then you can see those texts. If you're ever wondering what sort of text should I get, I'll post the video this weekend so you know what text I'm running. You'll also find, I think Kobrak just posted a video today about his most up-to-date tech, and I know Suri has a video, or he's got a whole website about technology. So I'm not going to get into detail on how to properly tech your units. There's some pretty standard meta tech, right? In general, if range is offered as one of the techs, take range. And that's pretty much it. So always take range if it's being offered. And then aside from that, watch a YouTube, read the guide. And also sometimes you can click on the units of your opponent and just look at what he's got. But for now, just letting you know, this exists. Units have tags. Even though everybody starts with 4 tech, doesn't mean you have to stick with the 4 tech. Some of the units actually have a crap ton of tech. So for example, if you go to like Wasps, I mean, they've got 4... 8, 10. They got 10 techs and only 4 slots. So you really have to think about where you want to use your technology on. How do you unlock your tech? Well, it comes with this thing called tech points. Tech points are gained by playing the game, by completing the tutorial. So essentially, if you're active in the game, you're gonna get tech points. So don't worry about that. It's not something that you have to grind really hard to get. All right, so that's the first thing I want to talk about. Just make sure you know there are tags and there are options for tags in this game. The next thing we want to talk about is units, or unit stats, rather. This can go on for like a 3-hour discussion because this is really important. The rule of thumb, or essentially this is really where the ceiling for Mechabellum is that the more you know unit stats by heart, and also what it comes with unit stats is breakpoints. So what I mean by breakpoints, for example, an Arclight attacks 347 damage per shot. Okay, an Arclight is what I will call a chaff clear unit because it has a splash range of 7 meters. So when it's firing at small things like the fans or crawlers, it can kill a bunch of them at the same time. A squad of crawlers here has a HP of 292. So which means if you have a level 1 Arclight versus a level 1 crawler, the Arclight will one-shot the crawler every single time. However, there are ways that you can fix that, right? So right now, Arclight 374, 347, and the crawler 292. Let me just pull out my trusty calculator. So 292, if you get a tower upgrade once, which is 10%, you get 321, which is not enough to overcome the breakpoint, right? So right now, even if you get a tower armor upgrade, your opponent's Arclight is still going to one-shot your crawler. However, if your crawler levels, in this case, every time you level, you double your stats, or you add one level to your stats. So that would just be 292 times 2. And now it takes 2 shot from a Arclight to kill, right? So it's 584. So there are many interesting breakpoints, whether it is marksman 2-shotting a sledgehammer, or a cost control marksman 3-shotting a sledgehammer with +1 armor. And that one additional shot could be the turning point of this entire game, because marksman shoots every 3.1 seconds. So in order to wait for that 3 shot, your sledgehammer might get a shot in and kill the marksman. So these are the minor little details, and they all stems from understanding the unit stat. I know it sounds super nerdy, right? You have to remember a bunch of numbers. We don't, honestly. At least I don't. It just, the more you play the game, the more you kind of get a feel of where things lie, and then you know, okay, if you take armor, if you're cross control, if you're facing cost control, you should definitely take armor first, so that the Arclight actually 2-shot your crawlers, and that makes your crawlers doubly effective as a chaff, right? You essentially increase its chaffing capabilities by 100%, even though you're only increasing the armor by 10%. So that's the idea. Looking at these stats, just quickly going down the stats here. So HP, we all know what that is. That's just how tanky the unit is. Speed is how fast they work, how fast they walk. When you get up to about 1200 MMR, this becomes important, because when you're in the game, you want to make sure your chaff ends up before your carry unit. So carry units are the units that actually do damage. Chaff needs to go before your carry units, right before the battle engages. If your chaff goes too far out, your opponent will kill off all your chaff before your carry unit arrives. If your chaff is too late, your opponents will shoot at your carry units and kill it faster than you can kill your opponent, and then your chaff becomes useless. So how to manage that timing becomes important, and one critical factor on that particular formation is speed. Some units walk fast, some units walk slow. Marksman walks 8 meters per second. Crawlers walks 16 meters per second. So when you're putting things onto the board, you might want to have crawlers behind the marksman, so that when the battle commences, your crawler actually moves slightly ahead of the marksman. Right? So these are the things that we can look at in the game. Speaking of, so far we talk about stats. But this is, concept that's hard to grasp. So let's just jump into a game and let's see how this works. Is anyone online that actually want to do a friendly? Let's see if T-Man wants to do some 1v1s. Or if Sparty, if you're around, happy to do a 1v1. Or I can just jump into ladder. All right, let's jump into ladder, and let's just keep talking about units for a little bit. Hey, please hug. All right. Let's just play something very standard. So earlier on, you saw the spider, aggro spider, so you're kind of familiar with that one. So we're gonna do the exact same thing right here. So I got a question from Germo on YouTube side. What's the best way to improve in Mechabellum? The most tried and true way of improving in Mechabellum is just to play. And I don't mean to play mindlessly and lose games and then you get super frustrated. Every time you're beaten by a strategy, Mechabellum has a fantastic replay system. So you can go up here and you can click on replay to access your replays. If you're new to Mechabellum, I suggest going to settings, going under, which one I can't remember, other. So go settings, other, and there's a checkbox to automatically save replays. I highly recommend you do that so you don't forget to save replays. Play the game, and if you lost to your opponent, go back into the replay and just watch exactly what your opponent did to you. That will cause you to lose. Okay? And then copy that exact strategy until you start losing with the strategy, so that next time when you fight a opponent with a similar strategy, you know how to beat that strategy. So you're kind of leveraging, you're kind of absorbing knowledge through osmosis, essentially, which is really good. All right, so here's my starting. The reason I'm doing this is because my opponent has Stormcallers, into fans, and and Stormcallers are notoriously good against Tarantulas. So earlier I talked about chaff, I talked about walking speed. There's a reason I have the crawlers actually at the front, even though it's going to walk way ahead. And that's because I want my opponent to actually aim at these crawlers instead of my Tarantulas. So right now, most of the Stonecrawler missiles are missing onto these crawlers, which is fine. And that gives me an opportunity to walk forward a little bit. But for the first round, it's probably still going to be a loss for me because Stormcrawlers are just so darn good into Tarantulas. Yeah, this is very, very difficult to play into. But I'm still trying the aggro. All right, so there was a question here from Uncle Lazy. Explain tempo and how even losing the beginning or losing in the beginning doesn't mean that you lose the game. So first of all, what is tempo? Tempo is you kind of think of it as, right now, if your opponent is giving you a problem that you need to solve, and if you don't solve the problem, and that's going to give your opponent a huge advantage. And in this case, your opponent has a tempo over you, right? So right now I do have a problem, and the problem are these Stormcallers. There are many ways to solve this, but I do need to solve it. I can't just ignore it because it just kills my units way too fast, right? This round, we also have improved Wasp, which means my opponent can just go ahead and get improved Wasp. And that will be another problem. So if you can keep giving me problems and I'm on the defensive and I keep having to solve those problems, that means my opponent has tempo. Right? Or inversely, I can do something similar. Like I can say, hey, you know what? I see that you got Wasps, and that's okay. And I'm going to put some missiles down. Okay, so we got Stonecaller, Sabers. Okay, so right now the extra crawlers, this is my way of answering the Stormcallers on this side because it's going to force my opponent to yeah, so they're going to be a little bit more distracted, right? He's not going Wasp, so the 2 missiles here, they're actually not doing anything, which is fine. I already have Sabertooth, and Sabertooth does run the missile interceptor tech, which means I actually have a direct answer to the Stonecrawlers. So as you can see right now, yes, the Stonecrawler are still landing on a bunch of my units, and that's no fun at all. But should be able to get a tower. I don't think I'll be able to clear all the things because I don't have a Tarantula to do the chaff clear. But this round is now looking a little bit better than the previous round, despite my opponent adding additional Stonecrawlers. So right now I'm actually fighting back on the tempo. And with this crawlers, I actually take the round. So I'm fighting back on the tempo. I'm not solving his Stormcaller problem completely yet, but it's definitely working out a little bit. Okay. All right. Heavy armor, photon coating. Photon coating is not too bad. I may just want to answer them directly. I think he's got a lot of the Stonecrawlers, and I like to keep my tarantulas intact here. And that leaves a bit of an issue. I forgot that the missile was actually disappeared, so my tower is going to be slightly under-defended. Should I take a risk and just not take a defense? Because in order to take a defense, I have to take a loan, which is not great. Let's see. I hope my opponent is it's okay with that. All right, so last round I had a crawler on the flank. If my opponent doesn't defend against this crawler, then I will have the tempo, because now I have a problem that might grow into a much bigger issue because it forces a lot of the units in this corner to move over. Fortunately, my opponent is going to answer it with an arc light. So that's his way of solving it. And then while solving that problem, he's also strengthening the board at the front, because he needed a bit more chaff clear, because my units was just kind of running all the way in. Right? Okay, so Sabertooth anti-missile. This is my way of getting tempo, because right now a lot fewer missiles are going to land. And because my Sabertooth are really tanky, I might actually be able to get into the tower. There it is. And once we have the tower, I will be able to kill a lot of things a lot more efficiently. Alright, let's focus on the game here. Looking at the board, I think one of my weaknesses is I have very few anti-air units. I got 3 marksmen, which means my opponent can always overwhelm me with just some wasps. It's not great. Typhoon would be an answer to that particular problem. And also it helps with the chaff clear, which I like. Okay, so now we know what my opponent's going to do. Now let's figure out what he's going to do. Rhino was offered, and my side is like wide open at this moment, which means if my opponent wants, you can always just putting a Rhino on the other side, which could be very, very bad for me. So what I want to do is actually do something like this. I want to have a missile right here and a missile in the back. So in case he goes for rhinos, he's going to get missile one way or the other. We're going to take temp speed because all my units are super slow. So temp speed just allows the units to moving and do damage. I don't have an AA anti-air problem because I already have big typhoons and also level 2 marksmen. Alright, let's see how this goes. And then speaking of, there it is. So my opponent is coming into the tower. He noticed that I have a bit of a weakness on that side. So he's pushing this. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be combining these steel balls with the mobile beacon. The missile landed perfectly to defend that because now the steel balls won't be able to log on to my sledgehammers. And then the typhoon just clears everything else. Right? On the other side, of course, he added these wasps. just answering exactly what I was talking about in the previous turn and how I don't have a good answer against like sort of mass air units. Right, so this is the perfect example when you're in Mechabellum, is to think about what your opponent trying to counter you, and then you counter that counter instead of just going straight up and say, hey, you got a whole lot of Stonecrawlers, I'm just going to put down a whole lot of Sabertooth. You have to think one step beyond, right? All right, so now I know this is what the deal is for my opponent. Now let's see how we can capitalize on this. Super weak in my opponent's backline here, which means a Rhino Assault will actually be quite nice. He actually sold the Stormcaller on this side, and I believe he will continue to sell Stormcallers, which is fine. Let's see. We do have a Heavy Armor Steel Ball, which can be scary. Let's get a Typhoon here to answer the Wasp threat. Last round, it was a little bit of a problem. We need Chaff on this side. I feel like having range on the Tarantula is not a terrible thing. Let's do this for now. Let's get 10 speed, because I don't have enough money to get range. So we're going to get 10 speed. I'm going to get a upgrade. The reason I'm upgrading the Tarantula first is that right now I feel like when it comes to breakpoint, my Sabertooth are actually doing okay. So these are level 2 steel balls with heavy armor. My level 2 Sabertooth will 2-shot these steel balls, and with a bit of help from my level 2 marksman, I should be doing just fine. Alright, so here's going to be a Rhino in the back line and also a War Factory. But the bad news for him is that, oh no, they actually got my Rhino. So this is going to be a great round for my opponent. This War Factory is going to absolutely mop up everything on this side of the board. So this is my opponent countering the counter. So very well played. I should still be okay, because I am going to get tower, and hopefully my level 2 Sabertooth will provide enough firepower just to punch through my opponent. Oh, please get tower. Sabertooth. Oh my goodness. The Sabertooth was very confused. It was like, I don't know what to shoot. Very confused Sabertooth. Alright. Let's take the boats. Right now, my opponent has no anti-air whatsoever. Right? So having the boats is a great way of getting some value out. So last round we saw the War Factory, and we kind of understood like what the issue was here. All right. The War Factory requires a pretty strong response, because it is now leveled, which means it will just continue to outscale you. So first thing first is let's get Photon on the boat. Why Photon? I have a lot of medium-sized units that are pretty tanky, and Photon essentially allows them to live a whole lot longer. Let's be very careful with the crawlers. Actually, that missile was actually a little premature. The War Factory play right now, one thing that's very popular is that you get War Factory in round 1, and then immediately you sell the War Factory, and then you switch it to the other side. But in this case, it looks like my opponent just wants to keep the War Factory, which is fine. So I do have a lot of chaff, and I have a lot of air. So he's doing Phoenix production and Steel Ball production. That's a lot of freaking productions. And now being level 2 is going to do a significant amount of damage. But I am pushing really hard into this tower. Even though it's level 2, it's going to go down. Which means I should be able to... Ooh, wow. So he's got Steel Ball and Mech Div on the Steel Ball. Which means when the Steel Ball dies, it's going to produce crawlers. So this is a huge problem, as you can see here. So very good stuff. All right. Bombard is a great card. Just kind of keep the units in check. He's got a lot of air units, and I like to keep them in check here. And because he's producing so much unit, I'm going to get the melting point. It's going to be triple melting point, but I'm trying to find myself enough money so I can get EM. And I do need EM because it stops the production on the war factory. Might have been a little pre-eagered with the money management, which is not great. Alright, we're gonna get EM here. I'm gonna tuck the melting point actually behind my chaff clear. And we're gonna put another melting point in the middle. And we're gonna shield. So give me a little bit more options. And here is where he took Replicate. And that's an excellent choice because I was expecting Replicate last round. But this round, this is, yeah, so this is the replicating round. So this is me misreading on the tempo. So I overly prepared for Replicate in the previous round, which he didn't take. And now he is going to take. So he's going to have a huge swing round, which I'm not able to win. And with all the units that he has on the field, I don't think he'll win this round. He's not going to have enough to win this round, but he's going to take a lot of HP off me this round, which is not a good thing. All right. Okay, so we got replicating crawlers. His chaff clear is not great, which means I might be able to get a cheeky replicate crawler situation here. Let's see. Double War Factory with missile. Understand the missile. Alright, we got units in the back here. The war factories right now, they're triple production, which means is very freaking strong. I am getting onto the tower very quickly. Okay, I'm gonna get a tower. Good. Okay. So I think production-wise, 17 times. Okay, so yeah, they buffed the production since the last batch. But I still got a crap ton of units. And now with... Let's see, if I can get this level 2 war factory. I can, but I couldn't get the rest of the war factory. So that's a good game. Well played. So in this game, where did I do wrong? That one round where I miscalculated on the replicate, that's the one I did wrong. Because I have every other round, I think I did all right. But that one round where I thought, okay, so previous round I had a missile here, but the next round he went for replicate and I didn't defend, that cost me the game. If I won that round, my opponent would never had that tempo because I was so busy answering to that particular threat. So at the higher level, I'm pleased Hug, he's before the squish, I think he's like, what, 2200 MMR? So very strong player. And this is the type of game you can expect at that level. Nobody's really making any blunders. Everybody's pushing and trying to out-counter you with the timing, not even the tech, it's just the timing. Because we saw replicate a mile away, but we just don't know exactly when, and I don't want to be the first to get that tech. But now thinking back, I probably should. So, and I don't feel bad about this loss at all because he's just the better player. He got the timing right, and I learned something from this. And this is the correct attitude when you're entering games like Mechabellum. All right. So let's jump into the big list of things that I want to talk about. Ooh, sorry, I actually had this text on the screen. Maybe that was a little distracting. My bad. Let me just turn this off when I'm not needing it. The next thing I want to talk about is just tower upgrades and devices. These are items that new players may not always know, and it can get a little bit confusing. So I'll just show you what these are and when would be a good time to use them. And why is my public chat not hiding? I thought I hit it. Okay. So when you're starting a game, you notice these are the things that you have on the side for you to use. There are 3 types of devices. These are all one time only. And well, they're one time until like they do not respawn every level. That's the proper way to put it. So if these devices gets destroyed, they do not respawn. But if they survive after the round, they will continue to stay on the board. With the exception, actually no, this is all, it applies to all 3. The sentry missile does attack when things move into range. So even if like nothing is hitting the sentry missile, it's just attacks, then you don't get the sentry missile back. But if there's nothing going into your range, your sentry missile will survive and it will continue on in the subsequent rounds. Shield generator gives you 40,000 shield. This is great whenever you're facing a board that has a lot of chaff and a lot of chaff clear. So for example, if my opponent is going heavy into things like fangs, right? He's got a bunch of fangs. He's got a bunch of arc lights. He might even have a few mustangs, right? The shield is excellent because it just has so much HP and none of these units actually do a lot of damage. They just shoot very quickly and they're excellent at killing small units. You don't want to put on a shield necessarily if your opponent goes for things like Stonecallers. Stonecallers are an excellent source of damage to any sort of stationary target. They're really good against giants. They're really good against slow moving things and also very good against shields. Shields don't survive if you kill them. So be careful when you don't get the money back. This is 100 that you could have spent getting upgrades or getting new units. My rule of thumb of using shield is that look at the board and if your opponent has like an overwhelming amount of chaff clearing units and you just need a few turns to get your army going, 100 supply can tie you over onto that turn, but just don't randomly toss shields down. In the later rounds, you can use shields to defend against abilities. So things like Incendiary Bomb, I'll give you an example here. So this is from the opponent team. Things like Incendiary Bomb or Acid or Oil, right? These sort of things can be defended, or even Smoke Bomb. You can defend that with the shield bubble. I'm just going to go a bunch of... As long as your shield bubble doesn't get broken in the first 3 seconds. Ooh, actually, I don't have army on the other side. That's why it's going to be auto lose. Okay, I'm going to put some army there. But the point is, your shield in the later round becomes significantly more important because it allows you to be protected from these abilities that might cause you a lot of grief. And here, just for your viewing pleasure, we're going to get a bunch of stuff here. And the shield is going to protect everything inside of this, in the bubble. Unless the Stormcaller actually goes on. Nope, it's actually protected. So right now everything inside is safe. Alright, so that's shield. Sentry Missile is great for taking out a single squad of something. Usually it's chaff. So last game you saw me use Sentry Missile to protect on the flank here. This is the most popular way of protecting your flank. So if you don't know what your opponent's going to put here, just put down a single Sentry Missile, and if they go like a squad of crawlers, the Sentry Missile will likely kill almost all the crawlers. Sometimes you end up with like one crawler, but that's not enough to actually get tower for the game. Same thing with Phoenixes. If you want to flank with Phoenixes, a single Sentry Missile should be sufficient. At the higher level, we all expect something like this. So high MMR players will actually put a crawler and another crawler or another Phoenix behind it, because the first one will always tank a Sentry Missile. It's very useful for taking out chaff in the front line as well, because sometimes you just want your units to be focusing on like a giant or a carry unit. You don't want to deal with the chaff, right? You want to have that tempo, that speed. Having Sentry Missile is a easy way of getting rid of those. Now, do keep in mind it's 50 supplies each, and that's 50 supply you're not going to be able to use to buy units or get tech upgrades, which are permanent. So just use them very carefully. There's no real rule for Sentry Missiles. For me, I like to use them as a cheap deterrent, protecting my weak flanks and my weak sides. And also, when I expect my opponent to push on a certain side, I like to put a safety Sentry Missile, because not only it'll do 5,000 damage, but more importantly, it's going to slow the units for 14 seconds. So in the last game, I expected some sort of funny business, right? And it turns out to be steel balls, and the Sentry Missile actually saved me that round. But don't just spam Sentry Missile, because you'll be behind in your board strength. And then the final item, which is probably the most difficult item to decide when you want to use, is the anti-missile device. I have a video on my YouTube channel that goes really deep into a breakdown for Stormcallers. And this is what this device is really most useful for, is against Stormcaller missiles. The reason I said it's difficult is because right now we have so many options when it comes to missile interception. We can get Mustangs, we can get Sabertooth, we can get Fireseer, we can get War Factories. They all have technology that turns them into a decent anti-missile. When do you want to have anti-missile devices? For me, is if I can comfortably win the round without the opponent's Stormcaller getting in the way, I will get them. It's 100 supply against 200 supply of units, which is a cost for Stormcaller, if I can win the round. If I'm not sure I can win the round, even after I remove the Stormcallers from my opponent's board, I don't want to get the missile device, because my opponent might destroy them, and then I'll just end up losing 100 supply. So that's my basic train of thought with AM, but it's just a very super nuanced decision. If you don't know if you want to get them or not, I would lean towards the side of not getting them. I feel like with Stormcaller, especially in the early rounds, there are other ways to deal with them. You can put more crawlers, as you saw in the last game. You can put flanks. But at the very late rounds, if your opponent goes like 8 Stormcallers, anti-missile devices might not be a terrible thing if you don't already invest into other units and other techs, right? All right, so we're gonna move on to another game. Oh, we got a question here on the anti-missile device. What's the rate of missile kill for them? Okay, so I will just show you right here. You can find that information on my YouTube channel. I actually go pretty detailed into that. I think for the first round, the anti-missile device kills around almost all the missiles, and then the second volley it clears about 60%, and then it kind of stabilizes at around 50%. The reason for that is just these anti-missile devices, and that applies to pretty much all AM devices, is that they degrade over time from continuous firing. And it will even says in the description, it says a continuous interception for a long time will lead to a decrease in its efficiency. So if you have Stormcaller continuously bombarding at it, it will degrade over time, but it will recover whenever there's no Stormcaller shooting at it. So if you're the Stormcaller player, you can actually cleverly stagger your Stormcallers so that there will always be a stream of missiles, and you can use that to your advantage. But that's like a very advanced part of Mechabellum. But for now, just to find out like what's the missile interception rate, here's what it looks like. So the first volley, it gets all the missiles. The second volley, it gets about 60% of the missiles. And then the third volley, it gets about half. So that's essentially probably less than half. So yeah, so that's AM devices. Okay. We are going to jump into another game. And in the next game, hopefully we'll continue to talk more on unit stats, unit counters. We're going to talk a little bit more about leveling and also flanking. We covered chaff quite a bit so far. So if you have any questions on chaff, just leave them in the comments, but we'll focus on some of the other topics, and we'll try to learn from these games. All right. All right, we're going to keep going to ladder. All right, I'm going to see what other questions. Okay, Uncle Lazy had a question. When later rounds occur, it can be a bit discouraging on what to do with so many things going on. What should the main focus be at that point? Oh, it's a rematch versus Hug. It depends on what sort of MMR you are, and since this stream is mostly targeting at brand new players, chances are at the very later rounds you have a pretty defined board, very standard, right, on both sides, and hopefully you kind of know where things are. We're gonna take the sledges this turn. In that case, where you want to, I think personally at lower MMRs, the most important thing in the later rounds is to figure out, do you kill your opponent's chaff first, or is it the other way around? I would say about 95% of the battles are determined by who kills the opponent's chaff first. So if you were to want to focus on one thing, that's the thing you want to focus on. If you can kill your opponent's chaff before him, your units will get extra shots onto his carry units, and it will do really well. All right, so first round, this is very much expected of what my opponent will want to do. And there's also a bit of a mind game going on because this is a rematch with Please Hug. And last round, we both win on the left-hand side. So there's a bit of a mind game going on, and I feel like he might want to go to the other side first. So I'm going to try to do it this way. And also looking at his starting units and my starting units. He has way better chaff clear than me. So his tarantulas are way better at killing chaff than my sledgehammers. And also they're way tankier. So I have a pretty big problem because he already starts with 3 crawlers, which are usually better in chaff strength than fans. Not only they have more units, but they also have more HP and damage per unit. The only downside is, of course, they don't shoot. They have to punch you. So if I were Please Hug, I would just get 2 more squads of crawlers and just capitalize on the lack of chaff. And it turns out he actually wants to go the other side, and that's fine by me. He is going to get tower because he has crawlers and they move fast. But I'm okay with that. Because it gives me an opportunity to clear up 2 squads of crawlers. And here is where you can see the mediocre chaff clearing capabilities of the sledgehammers. All these crawlers running in. If this were a tarantula, all these crawlers would have been dead at this point, but instead they are here and they are gnawing at my marksman, and I don't like that. Okay, we got 2 marksmen, 2 sledgies into a single spider. I think I might still win this. Depends on the timing. Yeah, I can still win this. Not great, but still wins this. All right. Let's see here. Lots of great units. I feel like the Farseer is probably the best bet here. Why Farseer and why not Sabertooth? Well, last round I had a chaff clearing problem. Okay. The Farseer, even though it doesn't do as much damage as a Sabertooth, it does enough damage. So, let's see. I want to do something players hate. Is I'm going to put flanks here with the Fire Badgers. I'm going to put another flank with the crawlers. So this crawler is going to get pulled to the Fire Badger, which the Fire Badger will kill. This crawler, after destroying his crawler, would then move over to the tower. Let's see, what's the timing here? I want this crawler to go to me. Maybe go in the back here. Okay. Yeah, that seems reasonable. And then for me, on my side, I probably just needs a bit more defense. And it's probably going to be something like this. Alright, so he's going to fortify. He actually swap out a Tarantula with Typhoons. The Fire Badger is going to come in. The Fire Badger is going to do damage to all his crawlers. Hopefully killing all of them, but with the Typhoon support, I think this is okay. My tower is now being protected, which means I have an opportunity to actually do a bit more damage. But the timing of it is still not great because I was hoping to get the Tarantula. But what is really working is I actually held most of his units all the way in the back with that flank. So now he's fighting with just half the army, right? So that was a trick. So we want to talk about flanking. When should you flank? Well, one reason you want to flank is you want to separate the timing of your opponent's unit so that you can fight with more of your army against less of your opponent's army and divide and conquer. So the purpose of the Fire Badger at the line there was to pull his chaff away, and also Fire Badgers is excellent against crawlers. And that way, when we finally do engage, right, I have overwhelming force. All right, what did my opponent take? Okay, so there's the Typhoon. He might actually put something here to destroy or distract my unit. And Fire Badger is not a terrible unit. Let's get Absorption Module. Let's just be super annoying here. Yeah, it's going to be super annoying. And in this one, I'm actually... let's get a mobile beacon. And let's get these crawlers over to the tower. Alright, we're going to level. Don't forget to get more chaff. And don't forget to level. So I do have sledges. And level sledges are actually pretty decent. Alright, so here's his answer with Scorpions. The Scorpions are going to be great against both my Sledgehammers and also my Fire Badgers. And he also took the Amcore and is going to put it on the Typhoons. Okay, so double Scorpion. Really good. But what does my opponent lack? Well, my opponent currently does not have Chaff Clear. His only Chaff Clear are these Typhoons. Which means, again, right? As you can see here, most of his units are being pulled away. Sure, he's going to get my tower, and that's actually impeccable timing. But he's not going to have any chaff to protect. So, as long as I can kill this Typhoon, which I might because I have just so many units. And he's not going to have chaff clear. But he does have Scorps, which are super scary. And I think he's still going to win the round. Yeah, super scary Scorps. Alright. Things are working. Okay. Now let's capitalize on two of my opponent's weaknesses. One, he has late chapter. And two, he has very bad anti-air. So let's see here. What am I? Oh, I'm Fire Badger spec. Let's see here. Hey, Sparty. Sure. I want to go boats, but it might feel a little bit premature. So I'm going to go with Phoenixes and then start selling out. Maybe a unit. Oh, no. Alright, so we got more Typhoons and now with Shield. That's fine. Yeah, next turn I'm going to start selling out those Fire Badgers. I think they did what they're supposed to do. We're going to get that tower. And actually, it might be a good timing because that's right before the unit engages. However, our army are fragmented, which means we're kind of fighting half of the army. But let's see if the Phoenixes actually will pay off here. Yep, the Phoenixes are paying off here. Getting rid of his Scorps. Good. Mobilized battleship. Don't really care about that. Anti-interference module. Yeah, none of this is really good for me. I'm gonna skip. Alright, the Fire Badger is completely countered here, so let's just go ahead and get rid of it. Phoenixes are here. The Rhino are still doing great. Might just be a melting point, right? Or I can be super mean and get hackers. Let's get hackers. Let's have some fun, right? Alright, so we're gonna have a crawler running towards the tower. And we're gonna have a hacker right here. Absorption module. I don't really know. There's the lightning storm. Crawler with replicate. Super annoying. He actually sold the rhino, which is also super annoying. Yeah, the lightning storm is very expensive. And of course, he's gonna get great value out of that. He gets Phoenix's zone. Yeah, that lightning storm killed all my things. And that's okay. Well, okay. I can do this. Alright, replicate crawlers. Very, very annoying to deal with. Underground threat, even more so. We're gonna take this. We're gonna take a lot of stormcallers. We're gonna replicate crawler probably right there in the mid, like right around here. Phoenix can come back. We're going to oil because I want my stormcallers to inflict maximum damage. We're gonna oil here. And with the additional money, I want to go Fire Badgers, but I don't want them to like ignite. So that's a kind of a tough one to do. Maybe I'll try to do this because his units are moving. So the crawlers are still running towards me, but they're not going to ignite right away. My opponent keeps putting missiles down, which is great. Gonna be even more typhoons. So this is a very weird board. Like this is not meta at all. This is just me responding to a threat. Too bad my chaff clear. My chaff is actually in going the wrong direction here. That's unfortunate. The hacker was not a smart idea. Okay. Melting Point should help. Fire Badger should help. Range will help with dealing with those pesky crawlers. Melting Point with the Ember Arch. This hacker is probably not that useful anymore. We'll need to get range. Probably some late arriving fans. We're gonna pull this Phoenix back. Here's the War Factory. Next turn, I'm gonna start sell out on this Phoenix. Okay, so here's Drill, which means he's gonna make a crap ton of crawlers. Not a big fan. Yep. Alright. Melting Point doing work. Oh, I think the crawler might just be too much. Yeah. That's the problem. Last round, I think the crawler is just too much. Good game. Really liking the production War Factory. Since the last buff to the War Factory, this one was being very good. Because before this last batch, you can only produce, what, the units 9 times? But now you're doing like 17 times for Sledgehammer, 11 times for Steel Balls. It's really impressive stuff. Alright, what did we do wrong? The hacker was a very premature decision. We kind of jump on it. Because we saw the Rhino and it's like, oh, the brain just goes to the hacker. The flank here was good. It served a lot of good purpose. We did a lot of damage to the HP. Chaff clear at the later rounds is what lost me the game. So it kind of goes back to Uncle Lazy's question, like what happens at the end of the game? Chaff, right? If those crawlers were not here, these 2 Melting Point will actually kill every single unit on his board. So that is the learning for the game. All right, Sparty, if you're in here, I can invite you to a 1v1. All right, so last round we took a look at the flank. Flanking, I think the most important part of flanking is to disrupt your opponent's formation so that you can get an opportunity to fight as half of his opponent's army with your entire army. Active abilities, maybe that's something we'll talk about next game. Last round, you noticed that the lightning storm completely destroyed my side of the board. It wasn't worth it for me to get shield. Actually, no, not thinking back, I might actually want to get shield, but that was the hacker round and my mind just went, ooh, hacker. 2 shields will cost 200, lightning storm costs 350, and 2 shields should be able to protect most of your units from the lightning storm. Will give you a net positive on that investment. All right, Sparty, what do you want to play? Maybe just standard ball crawler, I suppose. Okay. The next thing maybe we want to talk real quick is about some terminologies. So if you're new to the game and if you're watching, you know, on the channels, you might have noticed people use terms like standard or aggro, right? You might wonder like, what the heck is aggro? Aggro is when you put units on the line, like what I'm doing right now. When you're putting units on the line, the goal here is for you to overwhelm the opponent and get tower very quickly. Once you get tower, your tower actually debuff the enemy units, making it only deal 10% of their damage. And also at the same time, taking twice as much damage from my units. I am supply spec, which means I get extra 50 every round. And for now, I'm just going to use a cheeky missile because round 1, aggro with steel ball crawler. I don't usually... you can't really expect this to win because I have no chaff clear. Oh no, he puts the spider in the way. What a guy. Well, good for you, Sparty. The reason Sparty and I, we play a lot, like a lot. So we kind of know what each other is gonna do, and he's seen this exact aggro build at least 24 times. So yeah, it's not. I wouldn't be surprised if he knows exactly where my steel balls are, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put a tarantula right in front of the crawler and a crawler in front of your steel ball. But most of the time, you wouldn't know who's who. So, all right. What do I want to do with the chaff? Normally, I'd take a raid here, but since I am going... You know what? Let's level up on you. Let's get even more crawlers. And I'm going to throw another round, by the way. And you may ask, like, why are you doing this? Damn it, Sparty. Ah. That's okay. You might wonder why am I doing this? Well, right now I'm trying to set up a board where my wraith could actually do work. Normally this is the time I put down a wraith, but I already spent the extra on level 2 steel balls, and level 2 steel balls are so important. Like getting levels on the steel balls is huge, right? Which is why I don't have the money to actually go into raid this round. But it's a good thing that he went for the wasp, because next round is where I'm going to put down the raid. And Sparty will know this, which means next round he is going to flank, which means instead of on top of putting down the raid, I will get the towers. And that is the life of, you know, Mechabellum. I'm going to take underground. I'm going to get my raid right here. It's going to stick right here. And we're just going to get level on you. Level on you. And even more crawlers. Because that is how we played this game. He's getting replicate. Man, he's just doing everything right this game, right? Replicate brings huge tempo. But I feel like I got big steel balls and I got a wraith. Yes, you can get replicate. That's all right. I got level 2 towers. Not too worried. My wraith is probably gonna kill a whole lot of crawlers. Get levels. And that's fine. Alright, so this is when things get really scary, because now so far Sparty has kind of out anticipating all my moves, but this is now the time for me to kind of get back at him, right? What do I need? Probably the Phoenix, because he is gonna go Phoenix. His crawler is gonna go. We're gonna take impact drill on all of our crawlers. Gonna get level 1. Wraith needs to get ranged. Wraith needs to get level 2. I will need another chaff clear, as much as I hate going for a arc light here. I feel like this is something I just need to do. And knowing Sparty, he's probably gonna put Phoenix right around this area. Not great. Ah, Phoenix is gonna go straight to my Wraith. Yeah. Sparty. Alright, Sparty. Time to stabilize. I really want absorption module. Yes, Sparty. That is exactly what you need to do, and you're doing it. Alright, first we're gonna get these guys going. Then we're gonna get these guys going. Then ooh, actually didn't meant to click the steel balls. Actually wanted another Wraith. That's alright. I'm gonna go fast here. And a cheeky missile, maybe. I don't really need a cheeky missile. But here's the problem. Sparty is probably gonna loan, and I'm in a world of problems. Let's get a cheeky missile here. Maybe my steel ball can get into his units. Here's the Vulcan. Ah, that hurts. That is painful, Sparty. You're a masochist. Causing pain everywhere you go. Absorption would have been so amazing on that Wraith. But here's Sparty. Alright, so far we have Sparty just being relentless for the first 5 rounds, but I think we're stabilizing here. Hey Eric, give him the beans. I'm trying. He's predicting every move. Like every single one of my move, he's right there. Like bam. I was like, damn it, Sparty. I'm trying to give you the beans. You're not giving me the opportunity. All right. I'm happy with this board. My only weakness is right here in the middle because he will actually put phoenixes here. But aside from that, I'm pretty happy with this board. Spider Mine is fine. I'm not too worried about Spider Mines. That's what raids are for. He sold the Vulcan, which I don't think was the right choice. I think he could have kept the Vulcan, but I do have really big steel balls, so he's going to have some issues. Given the easy beans, no easy beans for Sparty. He stinks of cheese. And this is where the final, probably take the item. The final form of Wraith Ball is going to go into effect here. Gonna get the big item. We are actually going to have ballers for defense because we don't like how the phoenixes were shooting at my ship. For Sparty, I would just put it back here, right? Nah, too obvious. He'll expect it. We'll do this. Put it right in between here, so at least we can defend. And then we're gonna take speed again. Yep, on cue, Sparty with the crawlers. And the missile, taking care of most of his crawlers. And my unit just runs forward. Here's me giving you Sparty the beans. Good game. So this is, I guess this is a classic example, right? I've been losing, like he's been predicting every single thing that I was going to do for the first 5 rounds. But in my mind, I had a structure that consists of 8-gun Wraith, high-level steel balls with energy absorption, and just a bunch of crawlers. And if he doesn't prepare for this final round, he's gonna have a bit of a problem. So let's just break the board a little bit. AA Wasp with range, they do excellent damage against the Wraith if they can actually get close to the Wraith. 8-gun Wraith is kind of like on par with AA Wasp because even though the Wasp can shoot the Wraith and bring it down from afar, one volley from the Wraith kills the whole squad of the Wasp. So that's the delicate balance between Wasp and 8-gun. Spider Mine supposedly is going to be great for steel balls, but it gets countered by the 8-gun Wraith. So in order to break this position, I think Sparty has, I would probably go for Scorps, but you don't have Chaff Clear if you go Scorps. So that was a bit of a issue because most of your army is here invested into dealing this Wraith. So I don't know. That would be a little bit of a weird situation. A great game. Had me on the ropes there. Open to another rematch if you're in. Logic coding. Is this game always versus online player or AI? That's a great question. There is a solo section, and I highly recommend starting off with the Commander Academy. It teaches you like the most basic stuff, and while you're doing it, you can get some combat power, and you can use whatever you gain to level up your tech points. There is also a practice mode. Definitely play the practice mode before you get into PvP. Practice mode AIs are not very good. I think even at Insane, the AI, I will give them maybe 500 MMR, which is like bad human player. But definitely play with it, and at least you get to, you know, kind of get through the mechanic of things. Survival mode is really fun, but survival mode doesn't teach you what you need to win 1v1s, but it does teach you unit counter. So if you are a little hesitant or apprehensive about getting into PvP, play the survival mode so you learn about unit counter, like what's good against what. And then finally, even in PvP, there's like the hardcore 1v1 or 2v2s. You can also play free-for-all. So here's a 4-player brawl. I personally don't play a lot of free-for-all, but free-for-all is kind of like this party game. You have 4 players playing on the same board. You don't really get much say in which player you're going to attack. And you win the game not by killing everybody. You win the game by killing both the AI that spawns in the middle of the map as well as some of your opponent's units. So it's like a fun game to play. And then if you're ready, then you can jump into 1v1. And I encourage people jumping into 1v1 because they're good players and then they're bad players. And MMR in this game, like the matchmaking system, is pretty decent in kind of getting you into the right bracket. All right, is Sparty? Oh, he went laddering. Okay. Okay. Momaro, do you want to play again? Because I got my ass kicked by Please Hug twice, and I'm trying to talk a little bit more about, you know, how the game mechanic works. So if you want to play a game, happy to jump in with you. While we wait for a response from Momaro, let's take a look at the list here. Okay, maybe I'll talk about the core strategy a little bit. I mean, as you watch me play games, as you go onto my YouTube channel and watch the commentaries, a lot of times I do touch on the core strategy. But at its core, if you were to summarize everything about Mechabellum's game mechanic into like one sentence, or even into one word, that is unit efficiency, or be more efficient with your army than your opponent's army. What does that mean, right? At the very beginning of the stream, we had a question about unit diversity. Is it better to get as many different types of unit as possible? And my answer to that was, no. You want to get the right counters to units. Oh, here's Poet. But you don't want to get multiple counters to the same problem. You don't need Marksman, Melting Point, Phoenix, Fortress to counter a Tarantula problem, right? You need one of these 4. Why is that? Because if you get one of these 4, then they can get levels and they can get technologies which multiplies their usefulness. And that's how you're going to get a very efficient army. At its core, right, of Mechabellum game mechanic, it's about being as efficient as possible with your army while making your opponent's army as inefficient as possible. Last game with Sparty, you notice that he had a chaff clear problem, which he never fully solved. He had tarantulas, he had Vulcans. I can't remember if he had another unit, but he had multiple units that he was trying to sell and trying to get rid of things. He also had an issue with the big wraith that I was running, right? He had Phoenixes. He also had anti-air marksman. So that way, I'm making his board less efficient. While for me, I had a very clear picture in my mind. I'm going with 8-gun wraith, energy absorption steel balls, and a whole crap ton of crawlers. That's it. All my board, my entire board, was 3 types of units. Yes, I had a few Phoenixes in there, but those were free from a unit drop. But my core units were just wraith, balls, crawlers. And this is a very strong meta, right? Wraith, ball, crawler. And it provoked many different types of units. So at the end of the game, my unit was being more efficient, and therefore I was winning. Because each one of my units was serving multiple purposes. My steel balls were not just killing his big tarantulas, they were also tanking all the shots from the Phoenixes, all the shots from the Wasps, allowing my 8-gun wraith to actually mop up. So my steel ball, if you go back to the replay and you look at the highest, probably the steel ball probably still get the highest damage, but if you're looking at the most unit killed, it's going to be my 8-gun wraith. My wraith was also doing multiple roles. It's serving the role of chaff clear, it's serving the role of anti-air, is serving the role of protecting my steel ball from spider mines, right? Multiple roles. Crawlers are just crawlers. They're cannon fodders, and really not much you can do. But my core units each were taking on multiple roles. I gotta stop talking. I gotta put some units down before I have no time. 7 seconds. Ah. Oh it. No. Oh. Suboptimal, but okay. Alright, I'm gonna turn this text off and I'm gonna have a game with Poet. Oh dear. All right, let's see how this game goes. Arcane asked Maddie on YouTube. He said, God, I had a 2v2 partner who recently kept buying a single unit and immediately get attacked for it. Yeah, that's something you don't want to do. Like, technology is a permanent investment. So if you get a single unit and your opponent decides to counter it, and then you already bought a technology, you're never going to get that money back. So always get, my rule of thumb is rule of 4. It's always get 4 of those same units before you put the first tech on it. The exceptions are like big unit, like giants. You can get a single giant, get a tech on it because they just cost too much. So maybe another way to look at it is to get 400 supplies worth of units before you get your first tech on it. Okay, Poet being very annoying. So it's going to be a missile strike, and it's going to be a shield. My dudes, a crap ton of crawlers. Be down this and level you up, and maybe the sledges. I know it's gonna get levels, but I get a squad of fan and I deal damage with. So it's not tough. The shield could be better. My fire badgers were running too far ahead into the shield. And he's being a chat, is putting sledges in the back line here. Being so annoying. Which is fine. I'm gonna get tower. I'm gonna kill all these front sledges. And I'm gonna start putting scorpions next round. Stonecrawler's being absolute MVP here. Probably can give them a level. Force a anti-missile device out of him and I can sell. Sandworm. If he gets Sandworm, I'm gonna need Overlord, so I'll probably just do Overlord. I need one of you here. Ideally, have your sledges focus on my fire badgers. So there's gonna be an Overlord. And it's probably gonna be another crawler flank on the side. Okay, so his response is gonna be wasps. Wasp is pretty good. But boats is also pretty good. And the sledges are actually getting taken care of in the back here. Now the question is, can my level 1 boat beat level 3 wasp? Probably not, because he's going to get tower. But we'll see. I still got a lot of small units, but he is level 3. So, yeah, that's fine. Level 3 wasp is not too difficult to deal with. Oh, I might actually get him. Or not. The splash is just not hitting nothing. That's alright. Oh, I got fans left over. Look at his hero fans. No. Okay, not gonna get that. That's alright. Orbital Jap mass-produced Wraith. That's not terrible. Let's get mass-produced Wraith. And we're gonna get Replicate. Ah, Sledgies. Taking Mech Rage. Good, good. Okay, he did end up leveling up the Wasps. And also there's level up Sledgies in the back. Not to worry about the Sledgies. I'm actually going to sell out of my Fire Badgers. Because I'm switching into Wraith. I wanted my army to be efficient as possible. So right now I have Fire Badgers and Wraith for Chaff Clear. And I don't need the Fire Badgers. I'm going to switch out of that. And I'm going to start putting down Scorpions. Because he's already invested in the Sledgehammers. Which means if I start hard countering him with Scorpions, he's very inefficient for him to swap out of Sledgehammers. So that goes back to the whole thing about unit efficiency. So I'm doing things that is going to make his army more inefficient by forcing him to abandon a unit, which he won't want to because, you know, level 3 Sledgehammer. Oh my god, what a tower timing. Jesus Christ. That's okay though. Wraith will eat the Wasp for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sabretooth is a great unit. But I think I want to have Scorps. A missile again? Try to missile these wasps. What's their HP? Yeah, I could probably kill these wasps. Let's do that. Missile this. You probably just stay exactly where you are. Yep, he gets leveled. You get your Farseer. Actually, these Farseer is gonna run straight to my tower, which is not great. So it's gonna get an excellent tower timing. But please let me kill some Sledgies. Yeah, I gotta kill some Sledgies. Alright. So great tower timing with the Farseer. Overwhelming amount of Sledgies. That's fine, because the next problem is just chaff. Because I had no chaff because I used all my deployments up front. So that's not a big issue. And I'm still doing decent. Like, despite the fact that I'm like a super early tower capture, I'm still killing most of his stuff. So not gonna get the Farseer though, the big unit. Efficient tech, because I really need to tech. Don't need you anymore. Let's get you upgraded, get you upgraded. Let's get more crawlers down here. Let's get a lot of chaff at the front. And since you're being so hard on both towers, I'm actually just gonna get some towers. And since your unit love to move so quickly into my line, why don't we put an end to that? Ballers. Let's get another tech now that we have money to spare. And with your Farseer, I'm going to slow you down a little bit because I don't want you to capture my tower once again. But instead, it's just going to be more sledgies. I have no problem with sledgies. Okay, so this should be pretty good. I should win fights on both sides very convincingly, and I should run to the tower very easily. Chaff clear on the side is mediocre. And units are just being drawn a little too far on the side here, which I'm not a big fan of. Okay. So we do have some pretty big sledgies at the front. I'm okay with that. Okay. The Wraith could do a little bit more work. I think the next step is to get range on the Wraith, which I was already going to take anyways. Shield drop is great. Range on the Wraith. There's certain units I just don't need anymore. I think this Fire Badger, it contributed to a bit of chaff clear, but I don't need you anymore. Stormcallers can still do decent damage until next round. Okay. This guy heal. Heal's fine. Scorpion still kind of one-shot you guys. So I don't think heal is gonna be that great. Yep. Yep. And that's it. So that's when the board stabilizes, and then the next round you just kind of do it the same of everything. So back to unit efficiency, I want to start selling out Arclights and Fire Badgers and replace them with Wraith. And at some point I want to hit 8 gun on the Wraith with all the extra money from selling those units. And I just want to keep putting down chaff. What are these? Oh, ranged and elite marksman. Scary. Scary. Probably a Mustang in the future. Yeah, it's gonna be a Mustang in the future. And Mustang is actually a pretty decent chaff on its own too. All right, so it's gonna be Wasp carry. Insane, be great. Here, missile, be great. Here. You are gonna get a level. You are gonna get a level. You are gonna get a level. Mustangs, we're gonna get 2 squads of them. Gonna get AA. We're gonna sell Fire Badger. Range. How far are those units? Okay, they're like super far, which means I'm gonna put Mustangs super behind. These guys will probably help out with the killing the sledgehammers. Okay, good. Now we need to put down shield. Probably one here. And probably another one just like right here. Alright, took armor. I'm okay with them taking armor. I mean, that's what scorps are for, really. Not a fan of the sledgehammer getting this close to my tower. But tower is upgraded, so hopefully I can get all the scorps, all the tanks before to get time on tower. The timing of it, not great. Which means they are going to kill some Mustangs. Another bad time tower. Okay, needs more scorps. Or just need double shot scorps. I feel like they kind of get stuck on this for way too long. And this is quad tech tanks. I'm thinking maybe just go with melting point with a bunch of EM missiles. That might actually be the answer. Or, you know what? Let's just take these guys. Right? And just put down more scorps. Big problem right now is these guys right there in the middle. So we just need to stop them. And if we can stop them, then we kind of win the game. Give me one more of you. I feel like we just need a little bit more chaff here. Oh, another shield on both ends. And this time we're gonna go range. And here's the war factory. Not really worried about war factory. I think we're almost at the point where the scorps are just gonna do a lot of work against whatever he's got. That's fine. War Factory coming in. I got 3 scorps shooting at it. And then a Mustang. I mean, on the right hand side, it's not going to do any good. But on the left hand side, absolutely killing everything. So yes, he can still win the right hand side. But on the left hand side, I should be doing okay. And because he's going War Factory, I think I might just go... Ooh. What level are these? Level 8. Holy moly. That's a big fangs. Big wasp. Jesus Christ. Alright. We are going to need War Factory, tank production. Okay. The marksman is really good. In helping to kill War Factory here. So I might just keep the marksman. Fan shield is also excellent. His entire chaff clear consists of sledgehammers that are we're gonna put oil on the War Factory side. We need to level up these Mustangs. This is a bit of a waste getting another Mustang at level 2, but I think we really need it. 22, 21. Okay, you will need to get a level. And get range again. I'm gonna slow you down again. What don't I need? I don't need you anymore. I'm happy to use the extra money. Oh, another shield. Nah, too slow. Triple War Factory. It's alright. Yep, destroying the stuff on the left. But those level, what is it, level 9 wasps? Holy moly. Wow. Man. Those are scary wasps. Holy cow. Jesus Christ. Well, the good thing about these wasps is this is as far as they're gonna get. They're at the max level, which means there's no more level for them. I mean, they are terrifying though. We're gonna take advanced offensive tactics because we just really need to get to them, like pronto. The war factories, they are okay. I think I'm gonna have pretty big scorps already. Also marksman, pretty strong. Just a round of levels, really. We need some crawlers. Split here. Split here. And then more fangs. You can even do something like this. Just force him to shoot at the fangs for like the longest time. We're gonna get damage upgrade. And we're just gonna take temp range. We have this tool here. What level are you guys? Level 3. I could kill the wasp here. He's got Link. Ooh, spicy. I don't know if Link is helping him because I already have like huge scorps. So I guess it helps you to kind of get closer to my stuff. I'm not entirely sure. Alright, here comes the level 9 wasps. I mean, they are huge, but I don't think they can win this round though. So what my opponent needs next round is fire on the ground. Because I got way too much chaff, so he needs fire on the ground. And for me to counteract fire on the ground, or if I don't win this round, I won this round, so there's no next round. Huge wasp. God damn, poet. Give me the beans here. Level 9 wasp, 4,000 HP. 6,000 damage, shooting at 135 meters. My god. Yeah, that's insane. Hey, Bimpy, how's it going? You know what I need to do, Bimpy? Do you want to be a moderator for my channel? Because I like to make you a moderator. You're down to 1300 MMR? Don't worry, you'll catch back up. We got some weird meta right that's going on. All right, we're gonna go back to what we were talking about. Okay, so actually, you know what? There's some questions that's coming in, so let me just answer those questions. Julian, bonjour. Comment ça va? Okay, Arkan Asmati from YouTube asks, can you explain the reason why the common starting position for crawlers is to put them behind the tower in a manner that it was split on either side of it? Great question. So I'm going to pull up a testing ground. I'm going to show you real quick why that is good. So the most common form of chaff clear in the early rounds are arc lights. Arc lights shoot at the crawler and they deal a 7-meter damage, right? Even if you don't have arc light, like we can switch arc lights with sledgehammers or like tarantula, whatever, right? Arc lights. And here is why splitting crawler may be pretty cool. So on one side we have 2 arc lights. On the other side, we have 1 arc light. On one side, we have a crawler behind the tower. Actually, I think this might be needs to be a little bit more scared. Okay, this is more of an extreme example, but I'm just trying to illustrate a point here. And then on the other side, we have a crawler not behind the tower. Okay, now let's let the game begin. And here's just simple math. With Arclight, with the splash, if you're splitting them, you're getting them to do pretty much the same time, right? As you can see, on one side, the 2 Arclight killed that 1 squad of crawlers at the same time as the single Arclight on the right. So the simple answer to your question, Arcane, is just you're getting more shots out of your crawler. And since the primary purpose of the crawler is to take shots, the more shots you can get, the more value you're going to get out of the crawler. And that's why we split crawler behind the tower. And for me, like sometimes you don't even have to split them behind the tower. You can split them in all kinds of things. Like for example, you can split them behind the sledgehammer. So let me just do it this way. You can do something funky like this. So they will run forward and they will do a little bit of split. But notice, right? Notice how that little bit of split is causing the 2 arc lights to miss a few crawlers from the splash, right? So this is why loose is the technology in crawler. If you're cheap like me and you don't want to spend 400 on loose, you can use these sort of splitting mechanisms to emulate the effect of loose, which achieves the same purpose. Is you want your arc lights to shoot singular crawlers instead of in a cluster. Good question. Snart, thank you for the sub. And welcome to the stream. All right, I'm going to scroll up a little bit. I think I might have missed a few questions. How do you decide between deploying new units versus leveling existing ones? My rule of thumb in the first 3 rounds is always prioritize unit deployment if you can. However, early levels on carry units, so carry units are the units that actually do damage, can actually mean a big difference in the next round, because when you level, you pay half the price for double the stuff. Quoting Mr. DRN on YouTube. So after the first 3 rounds, there's 2 rules I follow in terms of when to level and when to go into more units. The first rule is that if my unit is directly counter another unit in the opponent's board and my opponent has more of whatever that unit is. So for example, if my opponent has like 6 tarantulas and I have 3 marksmen, I probably want to match that. Otherwise, it's just going to create an asymmetrical board and it's going to snowball on the strong side and it's going to get tower and also get levels. So I want to match to stop that from happening. So that's one reason I want to go wide, which is want to get more units instead of getting higher levels on my existing units. There's also another rule, which is there's certain units you never really need to level them because you're comfortable with the breakpoint. So earlier I talked about breakpoint, right? Arclight kills level 1 crawlers in 1 shot. If your opponent levels all their crawlers to level 2 and now all of a sudden your Arclights are in trouble because they can't chaff clear properly, now it makes sense to level your Arclights so now they kill level 2 crawlers in 1 shot. Right? And that same idea applies to things like Sabertooth. Sabertooth kills sledgehammers in 1 shot. Level 1 and level 2 in 1 shot. Scorpion kills level 1 and level 2 sledgehammers and steel balls in 1 shot. So even if your opponent has level 2 steel balls and you have level 1 scorpions, you don't need to level the scorpion because your breakpoint remains the same. But if your opponent gets level 3 sledgehammers, then you need to get level 2 scorpions because that additional shot from Scorpion, that's an like extra 4.5 seconds. So that's the situation too, which is breakpoints. And then the bonus round is that Stormcallers. Stormcallers is like this weird unit that you can go either way. Getting more Stormcaller instead of leveling existing ones gives you more surface area. I only level Stormcallers if my opponent goes heavy into high HP units, so I know at level 2 Stormcaller is just going to kill them twice as fast. But most of the time for Stormcaller, I just go wide. Usually you get up to about 4 squad of Stormcallers on a standard match. 6 squad if you're really trying to abuse Stormcallers, and you never really level Stormcallers. So that's all. YOLO! Leveling unit too early opens up opportunity for counterplay and leech more experience. Yes, absolutely. This is an advanced tactic, I suppose, but it's good to know. And it's especially important to know, like for chaff units, crawlers, fans, you don't want to get levels too early. Because when you level a squad of fans, which are just going to get killed just as easily by a single Arclight, a level 2 fan is going to give off twice as much experience. So you don't want to level up your chaff. Yeah, I mean, you really don't want to level your chaff at all. Yeah, but at low MMRs, that's just one rule to follow. Right? With your carry units, for now, you don't have to worry too much about giving experience, but really just focus on the situation on the board. But once you get past that 1500 MMR, it becomes a real problem. All right. Anyone from the chat wants to jump into a game here while I can just keep talking? Impy, you're up. I'm sending you an invite. Next question. Chart of breakpoint hanging next to me. I have a spreadsheet somewhere. It actually might be outdated because they keep changing things. But right out of your head, right? Like things you need to remember is Arclights, 1 shot. Actually, these things are so strange. Okay. A regular Arclight 1 shot a regular crawler, even if the crawler takes level 1 on armor. A regular Arclight 1 shots a heavy armor, or what do you call this? The fortified specialist Arclight crawler. But if that crawler takes armor, I think it takes 2 shots from the Arclight to kill that crawler. A Arclight from a cost control specialist 1 shots a crawler, regardless of what sort of crawler they are, even if it's heavy armor, I think. Wait, actually, no, I have to double check on that because I think if you take armor on that crawler to a cross control specialist, now it's 2 shots. Have to double check on that. But the easiest way to do it is just look at the unit stats when you're playing the game. And it's like, okay, you're cost control. These are your HP. These are your damage, right? Where's my breakpoint? And over time, you just kind of know. It's difficult in early access because they adjust HP so frequently. So even if you memorize all the breakpoints in the previous patch and then a new patch comes out and then the whole meta changes and then your mind is like, oh crap, I don't know exactly what's going on anymore. But now that we have an official version, I feel like these rapid changes should be a little better. All right, Bimpy. So it's gonna be Stonecallers into Sledge Fan, and I am level. I am elite. So when you're playing with elite, is that elites are very strong in the first 3 rounds. It's terrible from round 4 to round 7 because you can't really buy giants. They're so expensive. And then starting at round 8 is strong again. So, probably just get like extra tanky arc lights, right? Yeah, that's probably what I get. Like super tanky arc light. Blue crawler is also a great option to get. So either way, it works. Depends on your preference. I just worry that my opponent's gonna get crawlers, so I just want to deal with that. And that's all. And indeed, there's gonna be crawlers. And that's fine. So again, as you can see with the split, right, it causes these crawlers to just move a little bit further up. I think Rooster has a chart somewhere. Rooster PB, he's very active on Twitch. He has a chart somewhere about like how many shots it takes for a split crawler versus like a non-split crawler for Arclights to kill. So if you're on Discord, maybe summon him and see if that's around. Oh, thank you, Arcane. Okay. Bimpy's board. Lots of fangs. Farseer might be good. Farseer is good against pretty much everything here and also great against sledgehammers. So I might go with Farseer. And here's my problem. I don't have money. In that case, it's going to be more crawlers on the fringe. Bimpy might actually take Marksman, which is another great card. And that's going to force level 2 fangs in front of my unit, which I don't want to take as a elite spec. I don't know what he took. Oh, he took the wasp and put it on this side. So it's going to be the side with no AA. It's going to be a pretty good round for him. But next round, I will have enough money to actually buy AA. But this round, no. Don't have money. Wasp, would you kindly follow my crawlers to Valhalla? Please. Yes. No. Where are they going? Are they coming to my crawler? No, they're coming to my tower. Darn it. One can hope. Alright. I think all my hopes and dreams rest on this Farseer. Come on, Farseer. No, he's sleeping on a job. Yeah, you're absolutely sleeping on a job here, Farseer. Too bad. 5 unsplit, A split. Thank you, Kelmer. So that's the answer. So crawler splitting behind the tower. If you're splitting, it takes 8 shots. If you're unsplit, it's 5 shots. Very useful. Thank you very much. Mass-produced wasp could be good for elite. It's very cheap chaff. But for now, I just need one more view. What else do I want? Maybe just even more crawlers. I mean, they are pretty good. Jump Drive Wasp, now going to the end. I'm not worried about Jump Drive Wasp. I think my crawlers are decent. And if he's going carry sledgies, next turn is just time to put down potentially scorpions. Or just go hard on Farseer. We'll see. He's going to mobile beacon, maybe? Yeah, he's going to mobile beacon here. And that's okay. That's what a Farseer is for. See you later, Wasps. Good show. Now, when you have a sledgehammer line like this, a terrifying technology is actually loose. So earlier we talked about just how much a split will cost Arclights to kill sledgies. Arclights to kill crawlers. Loose against units that has splash. A terrifying technology, and that's exactly what I'm going to take. It's going to force my opponent to go something like fire. Vision tech is offered. Take it. Lose. I don't really have a lot of money, to be honest with you. Let's go heavy on the Wasp on my own. Probably get through them in the middle. Be like this. Not entirely sure. Mech Rage and Range, my favorite carry sledge technologies. AE from YouTube asks, what round or when do you decide to level units? I've read not before round 4 or 5, so you don't get hard countered. That is for teching. Leveling, you can do that any round, because when you level units and then you sell that unit, you actually get the money back from the leveling. So yeah, you can level unit anytime. You don't have to wait. Alright, sledgies actually causing quite a lot of problems. So I will need to do two things. One is better chaff clear, and then the other one is need some scorpions. This is actually one of my favorite strategies, and the reason is my favorite. It's just it's difficult to fight against when it's leveled up like this. So kudos to Bimpy from doing this. Vulcan is a great unit. For both things, one is a chaff clear. Kind of wanna start selling things. I was just a little too eager. All right, here's my level 2 things. All right, here comes the Mustangs. I'm not really worried about the Mustangs, to be honest. How to deal with Farseer? Ask YOLO guy. It seems very annoying no matter what. Farseer is mediocre in terms of his damage output. When Farseer was first introduced, I had this idea of Farseer in my mind. I was like, man, this is like God tier DPSer. Like it shoots far, it shoots very frequently, it does double missiles, and it has splash. But in reality, when you have Farseer against things like a Vulcan not Vulcan, like a Sabertooth, it's just not that good. So the answer to Farseer is just a lot of high HP units. What is the most reliable counter to high-level marksman span? Ask Arcane. Oops. Should put it on the wrong unit. Sorry, I was just thinking. Okay, back to the question. What's the most reliable counter to high-level marksman spam? Flanking is really good. Stormcaller, because they outrange marksman. Unless they're like level 8 with elite, in which case you're kind of screwed. Shielded Wasp is pretty good, because Shielded Wasp can actually help quite a lot against... like, there's not enough reliable anti-air. Shielded Wasp, I think the only reliable one is probably just going to go with AA Mustangs. In which case you can deal with that with fire. Okay, snipers are annoying. It's actually taking away my technology. Yeah, so this is a good play by Bimpy. And this is actually a classic example of how to beat Vulcan meta. People just keep complaining like Vulcan is so OP, you know, but no. I mean, there's a very, very good way of dealing with this. Damn it. Can't have more. Take temp range. +1. Actually, you know what? Some oil on the ground here. I can level you up. The shield positioning is not ideal, but some big Vulcans. Alright, so if he kept just disabling my Vulcan, I think one way to deal with this is probably just gonna get 10 speed. Bombard and Incendiary, both excellent cards. Actually, that was a mistake. I should have kept that. That was a mistake. But I didn't want to have that to be a collar. I wanted to be a fang, so it's a little closer. Move things a little faster, I suppose. Okay, we got scorpions. Hey Clint, how's it going? I am up against carry sledges with flowchart Vulcan. This is the game for the honor of the sledge carries, which I don't think is doing too well. Flowchart Vulcan is still OP. OP Vulcan. God damn. Yeah. Yeah, it's still very good. All right. Let's get a few more questions, and I'm probably gonna go another game, and then I'm gonna wrap this up tonight. I think tonight we answered quite a lot of questions. Let me just bring up the list one more time. So, tech, unit stats, unit counters. We'll talk about tower upgrades. We didn't really talk about tower upgrades. We talked about devices. So let's just quickly touch on tower upgrades, especially if you're new, and when to use them. GG Bimpy. Tower upgrades. Okay, so we got a few upgrades here, mostly these two, like when to get attack, when to get defense. Earlier we talked about breakpoint. So whenever you want to click on some of these, simply just click on your opponent's unit and check the breakpoint. If you notice that there's a way to get breakpoint, then get the upgrade because it will always be worth it. In certain situations, a attack upgrade. Okay, so first of all, attack upgrade is always preferred over defense upgrades, and the only reason being, attack upgrade not only allows your units to be more effective in the battle, it also gives it ability to scale faster because you kill more things, more experience, more levels. So attack upgrade is always preferred over defensive upgrades. Breakpoint is a thing. If you have a board that has a lot of fast firing units, so we're talking about Mustangs, Vulcans, or even Melting Point sometimes, Steel Balls, Fangs, getting attack upgrade is generally advised because, again, back to the Arclight versus Crawler example. If you have Arclight, your opponent has Crawlers, you take the attack upgrade, it doesn't change anything for you. You're still killing those Crawlers in one shot at the exact same speed, right? So that upgrade is completely wasted if you're mostly just doing Arclights against Crawlers. But if you have Mustangs against Crawlers, taking that 12% increase actually allows the Mustangs to kill things 12% faster because they fire so quickly. As a matter of fact, whenever I start with a starting pack of 2 Mustangs, 3 Crawlers, and this is a very common starting pack, I always, so assuming this is the starting pack, what I do is always I just buy 1 more Crawler and I take the attack upgrade in round 1. And that actually allows the Mustangs to deal reasonably well against your opponent's Arclights because that's what the best counter to a starting pack like this is going to be. I've tried this over and over, and I can safely recommend this tactic. So if you're starting with Mustangs Crawlers, buy 1 Crawler and put them in something like this. if you want to play standard, or if you want to do like Mustang 4 carry, you can put them on the line. But that's story for another time. If you go on YouTube and if you search Clean Leadwood Mechabellum, and if you're in the channel, if you don't mind giving me a link to your Fort Stand carry video, he's got a great video on Fortress Mustang carry, which is a very popular composition right now. So go check him out. You can probably find him on some of my videos. We do tourney cast from time to time. So super wise dude when it comes to Mechabellum. Thank you, Clint. I'm going to pin that. So if you're in the chat, go check out that video. All right. Bimpy asks, helps win the crawler headbutt as well? Yes, that's also a good point. So in today's games, you notice that sometimes I do flanks on the side. Taking an attack upgrade will win the crawler versus crawler headbutt, and it will potentially allows one of your units, if it's especially important for the flanker to get a level ahead of your opponents, because as a defender you always have the option to just delete your crawler or put something else, but as a flanker you're a little bit tied down to just the limited space available. So yes, if you have a crawler to crawler headbutt, taking an attack upgrade is really good. If you're having crawler into Mustangs, taking a defensive upgrade is really good because it allows your crawler to stay in the fight. So the same reasoning behind giving attack upgrades to units that shoots very fast can be applied to giving defensive upgrades to your units, assuming your opponent has the unit that shoots really fast, because it almost takes the full advantage of the 12%. All right. Anyone wants to jump in? Clint, do you want to play again? Oh, you're already in combat. That's too bad. You're in a 2. Okay. Bimpy, you want a rematch? Like my they must have updated this. Feels a little so I used to be able to shut down my public chat when I say like for this session. But right now I think it resets every game, which I'm not a big fan of. Sometimes the public chat is just too much. All right, I'm going to get all the text off the screen here, and we're going to enjoy another game. And keep those questions coming. Those are really great questions. And I will post the recording of this on Twitch and also on YouTube. So for those of you that wants to watch this again, feel free. And I'll try to cut them up a little bit later to make it a bit more digestible. All right. What do I want to play? So I saw a very triggering build while I was playing a ladder the other day. And I'm going to show you. It may work, it may not work, but we'll see. All right, Bimpy, get ready. This is the new meta. triple Stonecrawlers. Of course, I have 0 chaff clear, which means I'm going to have a heck of a time dealing with these crawlers. And they're actually taking a lot of fire from my storm crawlers, which I don't like. So here's an interesting tech for your stone crawlers, which is high explosive. So a lot of time people see high explosive, you go like, is it worth it? Right? You're getting rid of the wasp swarm is pretty good. You're getting rid of the potential damage output in favor of splash. So you get a 40% damage reduction. I think it's worth it if your opponent's board consists of mid-sized units and chaff. And it's just so much better at clearing chaff than pretty much anything. This round here. Yeah, I know what you want to do, Bimpy. The question is, I should have sold the orange man. This is my fault for not doing that. And let's just pick a side. Probably gonna be this side. Put you slightly ahead so you can actually get the marksman. Alright, now let's see how high explosive Stonecrawlers do versus the units here. Ooh, bad. Top clear is decent. And also killing sledgies faster. As you can see, the splash actually do more damage to the sledgies than if you didn't have splash. However, I don't have upshoot. Well, I got 1 orange, man. You know what? I'm good. I'm very good. Alright, let's get efficient giant manufacturing with the option to go for it at some point, or Vulcan at some point. I'm gonna level you up. And we're just gonna add even more dollars. Go this way. Actually, you know what? Do it mid. Tell you what, here's a super annoying pro trip. Put a single fan right there in the middle. That is going to draw everybody towards the middle. Pro tip. Alright, let's wait for the unit drop. And it's also going to stop shenanigans like this, like the crawler stuff. Because with the Stormcaller HE, you want units to all converge at a single point so it can maximize the damage. So having that distraction fan in the middle, and now you can see how all the crawlers are coming into the middle, is super nice. Like, it's just so much damage done to the opponent's board. And this must be very frustrating for Bimpy, because it was very frustrating when I was playing it. So the next round is going to be forts, because right now he's having trouble just clear everything out. And then the Stormcrawlers themselves are like super good when it comes to chaff clear. Sabertooth. I think Sabertooth is pretty good. Melting Point also pretty good. He is going to go with Wraith, which is something that I need to be mindful of. But let's get Melting Point. And if we are going to go with Melting Point, that just means we need chaff clear. So 2 squads of Mustangs would do nicely. And because we have Melting Point, we don't need Sniper anymore. So let's get rid of the sniper, and with the extra money, you can now get range on your Mustang. And you will need range. Okay. Now the question is, which side is it going to put the Wraith? I mean, it does come with 2, so it's probably just Wraith everywhere. But no, instead it's going to be Sabretooth. Sabretooth with AM, he's had it with these missiles. He said, enough is enough. And here are my big sabers. And I get it. So next round, I'm going to get range on the Stonecrawlers so that my Mustang will actually fire. Okay, so here's the reason. Range, in the early rounds, you don't want to get range on things like the Giants because the Giant will stand in front of the Mustang and provide tanking for the Mustangs. But when you see units like Sabretooth, that's when you go like, yeah, I need to do that. Because the Sabretooths are just very scary when it comes to killing stuff. Alright, AM is actually doing a lot of work here. So, but I'm still getting the damage in. As you can see here. Yes, it's doing better with AM this round, but I was still able to maybe even win. No, it's got a big saber on the other. Yeah. Wow. These storms are just great value. Great value storms. Okay. M-Core is a great tech on a Mustang. In fact, I might want to get 2 more Mustangs at level 2. So there was a question on when to elite recruit. It depends on what sort of unit. High-level Mustangs, I would say almost always worth the money. There was a tungsten, which means I need to be prepared for my melting point getting tungsten. And to protect that, I'm going to sell that melting point. And with the extra money, we're actually going to take this. We're also going to take oil. Gonna hold him down. He does have a lot of crawlers on that side. Last round, I feel like I was stronger on the other side. So let's hold down this side here. Maybe be like a little closer. Yep, here's the tungsten. So I sold my melting point. No problem. My Mustangs now are super jacked. Not only they have armor piercing, they also have +2 upgrades on the tower. So they're like super jacked Mustangs. And I'm hoping just for this round and this round only, I'm able to do a pretty strong clear. And also just kill a lot of things. Yeah, the stall tactic on the other side is working. Big Mustangs are actually killing even the Sabretooth. But it seems like I might just not have enough because of the arc lights. But that's okay though. Mustang gets leveled, and that's always a good thing. Alright, now that the tungsten is over, time to bring the melting point back. They were instrumental in 1, just tanking the Sabretooth. But 2, also doing that. Ooh, assault melting point. That's even better. Take assault melting point. With the assault melting point, let's get Electro, because that just keeps the opponents at bay. Oh, I forgot. You can actually go to multiple levels on the attack enhancement. So I'm going to go crazy on the Mustangs here. Okay. Let's just keep all their units in the middle. Range, good thing, good card. I'm going to win this war here with the Wasp because I'm like super teched. And that's going to maybe force some fans just coming towards the middle. You know what? RNG is not with me today. Actually didn't win the fight at the top. Very sad. Mustangs currently not doing a good enough job with the chaff clear. So the problem right now is not so much that my units is not getting to his units. It's just chaff clear. And 2 Vulcans would solve that problem nicely. Two Vulcan plus even more of you. And you might wonder, why do you want shield? The shield is just for the Vulcan incendiary bomb. Because I have a board that's heavy into Mustangs. So he could just incendiary me and I have no answers. And because I have so many giants, might as well take this. Oh wow, he's not going for Vulcans. Instead, he's going to be level 3 Tarantula. I can respect that. With Spider-Mine. I don't know if Spider-Mine is a good choice. I have so many Mustangs, and they are pretty big. Not sure. Next round is going to be range on Melting Point. If I survive the next round. The anti-missile made the Electro rough. Yes, they do. Alright, so it's going to be carry sledges. Good stuff. Okay, I will survive till the next round. Wanted to get range, but I just feel like I have... Oh, crap. Click on the wrong unit. Darn it. The wrong unit. Did not want to click on that. Did not want the arc light. Double shot is very scary. This is why we have range on the melting point, because double shot is just way too scary. Okay, doing all right. Stabilizing. Hmm. I would just go with this. Tungsten is off cooldown already, but it won't kill level 2 melting point. Bombard is a problem. Now, which side is he gonna kill? It's probably gonna kill. Last time he killed this side. So let's sell. Let's see. This is Vulcan. Oh yeah, he's still gonna kill this side. That's fine. We are gonna need protection against tungsten. Not tungsten, the bombard. And since we don't have Vulcan on this side, let's just level up these Mustangs. And additional chaff here. Take 10 branch. Gonna get oil. Mostly for slowing things down, not so much for getting fire on them. But we can always get fire on them next turn. And more Mustangs. The others. Not Mustangs, I mean crawlers. Thanks. It's getting late. Alright, here's the bombard, here's the tungsten. Tungsten is gonna be great. Let's see how good the bombard is gonna be. Chaff clear is doing okay on that side. Still got really 2 high level Sabertooth that I need to deal with. But overall, I feel like the Mustangs are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Once the sledgehammers are cleared, I should be able to get to his units. Alright. Ooh, that's a scary saber. Nope, got him. Yeah, this was close. I think he could have pushed a little harder in the early rounds. The real problem is just that in the later rounds, if your opponent's going giant, he's going to scale a whole lot harder than your opponent. Than you, actually. So, and I feel like the Mustang, let's take a look at the units here. This Mustang is the real MVP of the entire game. It did 321,000 damage overall. 108 just from the last round, 255 unit kills. So this Mustang was doing both chaff clear duty, and then after that, it was killing these big sabers and also these sledgehammers. So absolute Chad. And I want to say one of these melters was probably doing okay. No, the melters were just there to pick up the final sabers, but the Mustangs were the real MVPs in this game. And that's one unique thing about Mustangs, is probably one of the scariest units in the game if you can get them scaled and if you can get them good items. So Bimpy. No, this was a good game though. I mean, you tried carry sledges in 2 games. But the problem is when you do carry sledges, you have to end the game sooner because it doesn't scale well into the later rounds. When I run carry sledges, I think the double shot Sabertooth is okay. But if you notice, the real problem that your board was having, especially in the final rounds, was chaff clear. The sledges themselves, they're just not that great with chaff clear, unfortunately. So you have to supplement. I thought you were going to take the Vulcan when that drop came, because that would have been an excellent card. Once you get the chaff out of the way with EM on the sledges, you're going to disable the range on all my board, and you're just going to keep killing them as my giant walk towards you very, very slowly. Don't be Vulcan averse. It's the meta unit. Keep using it until Clint says something. Cool. All right, so that is going to be the end of the stream tonight. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and I hope everyone learned something from tonight's stream. So I'm going to find another streamer. I'm going to send you guys over there. And thank you for watching and have a good night. And we're going to send you over to Apuchi. Apuchi is one of the earlier streamers that I watched when I started playing Mechabellum. I've learned so much from him, and he's just a very nice guy. Like, he always likes to spend time and kind of break down strategies for you. So I'm going to send you over there. All right.